LittleBigPlanet 2, in my opinion, is the best LBP game in the series. Out of the three main games, this one was the highest point for me. It's the game I spent thousands of hours on, and it was the game I would always go back to, whether it was creating levels, playing levels, or messing around for hours in someone's pod. The first LittleBigPlanet game was great. It was amazing. It was the start of an awesome community, and it did some really creative things. It gave people a ton of tools to work with to create some great levels. But if you take a look at its sequel, there's really no reason to go back. I made a video of the first game in the series, and a lot of you happen to like it, so I decided I wanted to talk about the second game in the series. But mainly because it's also my favorites. Also, I want to cover every single game in the series, including spin-offs eventually. The LittleBigPlanet franchise was something I was very invested in 5 years ago, and now that it seems like a new game isn't coming out very soon, I thought now was the time to cover it. So let's get into it. After the first game was released, there were plans to expand LittleBigPlanet with new story levels and new create tools for people to use. Media Molecule, who wasn't really sure if they wanted to make a traditional sequel for the first game or not, started to support the first game as a platform where they would constantly release extra content to make the game feel fresh. This included paid DLC costumes and level kits that had additional items like stickers, objects, and completely new tools for people to work with to create brand new levels. After a while, they realized it wasn't enough. They had so many creative ideas left, and just shoving them into the first game wasn't an option. It was time to move on. It was time for LittleBigPlanet 2. LittleBigPlanet 2 launched in late January of 2011, and that's just over 2 years after the first game launched. It's really crazy too, because the amount of content this game had compared to the first one is just amazing. Media Molecule made sure that the sequel lived up to the creativity of the first game, and with this game they went beyond with everything. For example, just start with the create tools. They added Sackbots, which acted like a copy of the playable character Sackboy, but you were able to do a whole bunch of things with it. You could record exact movements and either make them loop or play once. You were able to make them talk with your PlayStation microphone, and you could even make it so that they could follow you or run away from you. With the new logic tools they added, you could even control a Sackbot with a brand new Controlinator, which was a tool used to control almost anything, and was used a ton in different creative levels in so many different ways. Whether it was controlling a Sagbot with crazy superpowers, or an animated sprite of Sonic the Hedgehog in a Green Hill Zone level, the Controlinator was used a lot in this game. That's just the tip of the iceberg though. With the amount of complicated and not so complicated tools this sequel offered, people were able to come up with endless possibilities. They also added a music synchronizer into the game, and you were able to make music, just like in any music making program. You were then able to use that music in levels or films. Oh, and yeah, you were able to make short little films now. It was just another neat little feature, and people used them to make funny little skits or films based off of YouTube videos or something. Some crafty people even made full-blown 20 to 30 minute movie-type films that spanned across multiple levels because they couldn't fit in just one. There were a lot of those, and they blew my mind back in the day. The one that I remember the most was Truth or Dare, Dares at the Last, and it was a 23-minute long film that was made by a dude named Shane with the help of his friends. It came out really great, too. I remember watching this particular film the most, and rewatching it over and over again. The film feature was really cool, but that still wasn't it. LittleBigPlanet 2 had a bunch of new gadgets that were added to enhance gameplay in certain levels. These gadgets included the Grabinator, the Grappling Hook, and the Creatinator. Both the Grabinator and the Grappling Hook are both pretty self-explanatory. You could pick up grabbable items and throw them with the Grabinator, and grapple certain objects with the Grappling Hook. The Creatinator, on the other hand, was very unique and was something people can mess around with on their own to make their own versions of it. With it, you can make it shoot out or spawn almost any item with the press of a button. You were also able to adjust the launch distance and speed, which was cool. That's pretty much the basics with the new tools they added. I'm not too much of a pro with LBP logic, so I can't go too deep into that, but what I could go a bit into was the story mode of this game.
In a world where imagination is king, an ancient evil stirs to threaten the very survival of the cosmos. Clive!
Yes, Mr. Science?
Fetch my tall orange macchiato.
Oh.
So, if you've ever played story mode in the first game, you would know that it was pretty neat with all of its characters and themes for each of the worlds. But it felt like something was missing. The characters didn't feel like they had a lot of life to them, since they were really just a mishmash of objects or cardboard cutouts with eyeballs and a mouth glued on. I love LBP1's characters, and it fits the style of the first game well, but if you wanted more expression out of the story mode characters, then LittleBigPlanet 2 had it covered. The sackbots I talked about earlier were used a ton in this story mode, whether it was in cutscenes or just during gameplay. Each of the worlds had their own characters like the first game, but now they're all based on Sackboy with their own twists. You had Larry da Vinci, who was made out of paper and cardboard with a pair of cool 3D glasses. Then you had Victoria von Bathysphere, and she was just creepy. But you also had Clive, a shy dude with a notepad as his head. There were also a couple other hooligans who all formed the group known as the Alliance to take down the main antagonist for this game, the Negativatron. And hey, they stuck with the glued-on eyeballs for this guy. All of these characters were great, and they're probably my favorite in the entire series as far as story mode characters go. As for the story mode levels, I thought they were really great. They were creative and really fun to play by yourself or with a friend or two. Just like in the first game, it's pretty tough to collect everything in the game and complete every level without dying, but if you want to get that platinum trophy, go for it. Trust me, it's worth it. If you're into those things, I guess. If you were a creator, then getting that platinum trophy might be worth it. Collecting all of the prize bubbles means you have more stuff to use in levels, and that meant backgrounds and materials from story mode. That also meant stickers and costumes of the story mode characters. That might be useful for creating the exact level you want. Using these story mode assets, you could create your own levels, and it's really cool to just have everything in the game.
Dear PlayStation, we just finished LittleBigPlanet 2, and I just...
No, you didn't.
Huh?
You don't finish LittleBigPlanet 2. You may think your Sackboy's adventure is over, but every day thousands of new racing, action, and sports games are loaded onto the PlayStation Network that are better than bacon-wrapped cupcakes.
Wait, so if there's always new stuff, how do you know when you're done?
You don't.
Whoa.
People have created millions of levels throughout the 7 years of LittleBigPlanet 2's life, and they still continue to create some pretty amazing levels to this day. Sometime after LBP2 launched, the community reached its highest point, with even more people joining than the first game. It showed with the amount of creative levels people were pumping out every single day. And yeah, LBP1 had some pretty cool levels too, but it didn't really matter because all of the levels from the first game were backwards compatible with the second. But with it being backwards compatible, you also had more copy levels. And those copy levels overshadowed the original levels a lot, like Mortal Kombat and some others I don't remember. But trust me, if you look around, there are tons of great levels to play. The one creator I would always check out was Mangreek. There were 3 levels of his that I remember going back to a lot: his Monkey Survival level, his Doomsday Survival level, and his Toy Train Bomb Survival level, where the bombs were just Lego pieces. I've played probably thousands of great levels on LBP2, but I just can't remember most of them on the top of my head. If you really want to find them, just check out my profile and check out my harded levels. You probably will find some of them. But yeah, the community was pretty awesome overall, and you could still go back to this game and find yourself having fun for probably years to come, just because there is an endless amount of levels to play. There's also an endless amount of things to do. But it's been a while since I play the game consistently nowadays. I would go back to it every now and then just to check out my old items I had in create mode. It's still a pretty active community. Not as active as it was 5 years ago, but after the third game was announced in 2014, I was excited to see where the community would go next. You made it to the end of the video, thanks for hanging in there. I wanted to announce that I have launched a Patreon page for this channel. If you want to support it, you can for as little as $1 a month. You get a few perks too, whether it's early access to my main videos, access to Patreon exclusive polls, or having your name at the end of the video. Or you could just do it because you want to, or just having a Patreon role in my Discord. Also, if you want to join my Discord server, the link will be in the description below. It's a pretty cool place to be. I plan on making these retrospective videos every single week, and also making videos on more recent games like Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I also make TF2 videos because that was the main focus before I branched out, but yeah. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe if you're interested. And a big thanks to my first 2 patrons, Goofball124 and XD Captain Funk. Thank you.